Hi everybody, this is Garth here again, and today I'm very excited because I've been after this lady for some time now to have an interview so we could talk about gratitude and how gratitude is changing her life and how she's living and she's coming all the way from the UK, and so I finally caught up with her today, and I would love for you all to meet Angela. Hey Angela, how are you?
Hey, Garth. Thank you. Good to be here. I'm good, thanks. How are
Uh,
you?
Excellent. I'm doing great. And so today we're just gonna have a little chat about gratitude and what it means and all those wonderful things. And Angela has also done some work in the personal development space. She's done some landmark, a lot of landmark actually, and so she's been around this work for a while. And we all have our ups and downs, and sometimes we get a little stagnant, and then sometimes we are just flowing like the river and everything is great. So today we're just going to have a conversation, and it's going to be a lot of fun, right?
Yes. Good to be here.
Yeah. So tell me, when did you start practicing gratitude? When did gratitude come into your life?
Ah, I think it really I came into my awareness on the Clubhouse app. Um, I guess 2, 3. I'm not sure exactly how long ago now,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it's at least 2 years. At least 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the DGM was probably the first one that I encountered. Yeah.
And prior to that, you had not practiced gratitude at all.
I mean, I think my dad maybe sent me a book by a Buddhist monk about gratitude,
Okay.
but I'm not sure that I ever read it. But yeah, yeah,
So you're, or as you would say that you were new to gratitude. I started practicing gratitude probably about 7 years ago. I was in my 50s when I started. So what was something that really stood out for you when you first started when it came to gratitude?
I mean, I'm a big fan of anything transformational.
Hmm.
So uh, it was. I think it was what stood out to me about it. I think that it's a very quick method of transformation, really.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it can change things really really quickly, especially with the power of the group, the community.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That community is something I'm still trying to figure out how to explain that to others because there's a big transformation there. So you found us by accident, or was it intentional? Or
Yeah, I didn't go looking for it.
Mhm.
It just was obviously in my they've changed the format of Clubhouse so many times. I can't even remember how it was in the beginning now, but
Mhm.
it used to be this corridor, didn't it, with all the rooms,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
you just kind of scroll down. And they still have that feature, but uh I must have uh just seen the room and just gone in there. I can't
Okay.
remember the exact details. Yeah, yeah.
So you found the room and you came in because one of the things that I hear a lot, and I mean a lot, people will say like, "Oh man, I don't know where this room came from. Like it just all of a sudden showed up on my phone, and here I am." And I'm like, "Really?" It's I think I think this, when the energy is right, whatever, you're just brought to this space.
Well,
Um,
I wanted a room that would be positive, and I think I joined the app just towards the end of the pandemic,
hmm.
and there was a lot of rooms with people, kind of shouty kind of rooms, and I just wanted a room that was fostering a kind of more harmonious kind of environment, just to kind of get away from sometimes the heatedness of some of the other rooms.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
those rooms. A lot of deep conversation about different things and people shouting at each other. So
Yes.
you
And waiting to land their planes.
yeah, wait, yeah. So you found the room and you came in, and what was that experience like for you? Let's say like the first week. What was it like? What were some of your thoughts?
I think I just love anything where it's inclusive and everybody is welcome, and people are listening, and I didn't know it in the beginning, but
Hmm.
the terms that became so familiar later on, like the pour in, and just that it was encouraging, it was uplifting, and that everybody was seen in there, and everybody uh, it was a welcoming. I mean, I just love that idea of a circle where you go around and you share,
Hmm.
and to me it was a transformational practice. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
was there a particular thing that you like for me, for example, I would say somewhere in the first, this is before the gratitude room. So somewhere in that first year and a half, I didn't really know what I was doing. All right. I just was not, yeah. I didn't really know what I was doing. That whole of 2019, I just was just doing an exercise that I got this challenge. And it wasn't until I had to go back and I wrote my book last year, and I went and got the videos that I did, that I actually realized that it was changing me, and I didn't even know I was changing. And then as I moved into changing countries, I started to feel like, man, I want other people to experience this, because I started to feel good about myself.
Mm.
So that was one of the experiences. I've had a lot of others, but that was one of the experiences that I had. Did you feel a shift or anything like that in your process?
I think for me the power of community was was lacking in my life,
Okay.
and so I think that was, just the power of the power of the group is huge, and the power of being witnessed, and people really holding space and really listening, not from a space of judgment, which
Mm-hmm.
I just think, in this competitive world, like as we see in the other rooms, where people are, kind of really at each other's throats, right? About, land your plane, and, just this, a lot of aggression, right? It was a softer, gentler, more harmonious. I don't think I'm answering the question right. I'm kind of going off on tangent, aren't I?
Well, you are, and I have a follow up question. So I mean, so when you talked about community,
Mm.
and you know, that is something that I've been wanting to explain to people, like what happens to you in this community. So maybe this is a good opportunity, because you're bringing it up. Like, what was the community like for you? What did you see that was different? And I mean, give me like one or two things.
Um, I mean, I just enjoyed witnessing. Even, it didn't necessarily even have to be, that it was me that was being the one that was validated. It was just
Mm-hmm.
beautiful to witness uh, people pouring in, as we call it on Clubhouse,
Mm-hmm.
or filling their cup. To see people being validated, and in my brain right now I can hear this voice saying, like, oh, you shouldn't seek validation, and um but I think as humans we need these mirrors and this connective, we need each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's this epidemic of isolation, of loneliness globally. There's depression, there's all of these things that are going on, and I think I listened into a little bit of these artists sharing about, how many people commit suicide, uh, about every 4 seconds or something. There's a lot of stuff happening out in the world, and it's just beautiful to know that, like, there is these movements that are just seeking to to bring connection, and to make people feel seen. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're actually you got me thinking, because you talked about isolation. You talked about the chatter that goes on in the world, and all of that stuff, and really, people just coming together, because as I said before, one of the things that I'm looking for is a way to explain to people like what actually happens to you. right? Because we're not talking about gratitude right now. We're talking about what gratitude. We're not talking about what gratitude does, but we're talking about the experience of being in the gratitude room. What that does to you, right? That's what you're describing right now.
Yes, I mean it's uplifting,
Mm-hmm.
and it's as we've discussed previously, it's, you know, connection, the connection, the gratitude, the connection that comes through gratitude. I think as humans, you know, we need that. I think just plain and simple. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
I agree. I agree. So you came into this space and you met all these people, and sometimes you would just sit in what we call the listening lounge, and you would just listen to people share their gratitude, and as they shared their gratitude, you had thoughts, or and you know what was that like?
yeah. I mean, I think sometimes, you know, just being in the listening lounge and just soaking up the gratitude. There are days when you don't necessarily there. There was somebody that shared something. They said that sometimes you need the movement, and sometimes the movement needs you.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are days when you go in and you've got a lot to share, and other people are probably, you know, getting gems from, you know, the things you're sharing. And then other days, maybe you need to just get that top up from hearing somebody else's gratitude. And I think it's just that we're all connected. You know, we're humanity. And so when somebody shares, you can't help but see the humanity in that person, and maybe it resonates with you, right?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say, you know, I'm grateful for ABC, and I'm like, wow, I never even thought of that. I never
Right.
even thought of that.
Yes.
And then I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I could be grateful for that too.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
sort of it's a resonance frequency or something, and also it's great to sometimes be made to get present to the things that we haven't even started to think about, and realize that, yes, as you say, I'm grateful for that too.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
Well, so so being there in the gratitude room, and listening to people share gratitude, and being a part of this community has impacted you in some way, because you obviously have come back many times to hear. And are there any noticeable changes in your life in terms of what you do, or what you say, or what you think, as a result of being in the room?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real heart opener. I don't think it's possible to start talking about the things that we're grateful for without it opening the heart up.
Okay.
And and then even in difficult situations, like I've just been through, you know, quite a challenging health challenge this summer. Um, you know, I was able to even flip that and say, well, I'm grateful for my resilience, you know, and like reframe the whole situation and look for, you know, something, you know, that it's not all, you know, you find the silver lining, right? Yeah.
Well, you use the term, and I don't know if I heard it before. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't know, but I liked it. I wrote it down. Heart opener.
Hmm.
You know, and so you're saying that your heart starts to open
Yeah.
as a result of just being in the gratitude of your life, the appreciation. And was
Yes, I mean sometimes you feel like your heart's spilling over, you know,
mm,
when you spend a lot of time in the room, and then you go back out into the real world, into the streetways of Clubhouse, and you might come into another room, and then you might feel as though almost like, you know, you're on this, you know, frequency that maybe isn't appropriate for the other room. If that makes sense, right?
okay.
Um, yeah, it can kind of, it's almost like you elevate together in the group. You raise your frequency. Yeah.
Okay, so there's a power that comes from being in this community that raises your vibration.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
that. I like that. I mean, because it's probably true, but you know, that's something that you can put your hand on. That's something that you, when you're there, you're actually feeling this elevation, where you're rising up.
I think the power of, it's almost like sometimes if the room's really, sort of like a, a club, that's really popping or something,
Mm-hmm.
then, as I think it was artists that said, you can't give without receiving, so uh how many times do we actually get the opportunity to do that? Sort of. I just think it's a good practice because the world is very competitive. It's a capitalistic system, and it's not the most heart centered world, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we want these moments to do that, like Thanksgiving, Christmas. We have the human heart. We want to feel and receive love as well.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, everybody's at different stages in their life, different ages and uh, different challenges. So everyone's got their own unique story. But I think it just found me at a time when I was feeling quite isolated, and it brought some connection into my life. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So you got a bit of connection in there as a result of coming into it. I like this, Angela. This is actually quite interesting. So the experience of just being in the gratitude movement, and being around folks, not only are you sharing your gratitude because you do that sometimes, every day, but you're having this experience as just being around this community that's also raising your vibration. That's what I got from what you just said.
yeah. I mean, I know it sounds a bit new agey and kind of like woo
Not
woo.
necessarily.
Yeah, I mean, not everybody uses that kind of language, but it's hard to really know what language to use because I think we're moving into a whole new era. We've been in it for a while now. This
Mm,
global connectivity where we can all jump on an audio call from around the world through an app like Clubhouse, or we can all Zoom together. I mean, I guess the Zoomings maybe. I think that came in during the pandemic as well. The Zoom. I'm not
yeah, yeah,
sure.
yeah. It did. Yeah, it did.
Yeah, so we're about 5 years maybe into this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Suddenly we've just got this world of global connectivity, and it's a it's it's amazing, considering where we came from, where in the 80s or whatever, where it was very expensive to make an overseas phone call and so on,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I was growing up as a kid. There weren't cell phones. There weren't no video conferencing or anything like that. You had to physically go there, right? You had to get on a plane and go somewhere. And now we are able to connect with anyone anywhere, as long as they have internet and the necessary apparatus. And very simply, you can just do it on your phone, right? You
yeah,
don't need a lot of sophisticated equipment, and almost everybody has a phone these days. Almost
yeah.
everyone. So that is something that I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, Zoom and Clubhouse have really revolutionized how we communicate with each other. Because in my other
Suddenly the whole world is at your fingertips, and you can connect. You can connect with people. I mean, that's what I always used to say. Insta community. A few taps, and there you are in a room with with a bunch of people that want
Mhm.
to share and pour in and share the love. Basically, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, that is something that, yeah, over the last 5 years, because now in the my other community, the Tony Robbins community,
Yeah.
we have a lot of virtual events, and people come in to experience the teachings from all around the world. I mean, literally, we have an event coming up soon. But I've been in the rooms where we've just got people from 50, 60 countries in different time zones. And it doesn't really matter, because once you come into that space, it's just that time. And they're there. And some people, it's like the middle of the night for them.
And
And
you can feel the excitement, the energy. It's all
yeah,
happening, even though you're not there in person with each other.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So that
Yeah.
is a different experience, for us all. And I think that is something that is going to continue on. So let's talk about gratitude itself for a second. We talked about being in the community and the experience of being in the community. Let's talk about how gratitude has really like impacted your life. Like what stands out more now for you because you share your gratitude more often, and what has shifted?
Uh, I think it's about getting present. It is a rewiring of the neural pathways, I believe. That we're almost retraining ourselves. Um, and having done a bunch of other transformational work, it kind of like just built on what came before. And uh, once it becomes, the practice of before you go to bed at night, you're thinking of 5 things to be grateful for. And then when you wake up in the morning, you're thinking of 5 things to be grateful for. And as you do that, uh, it can actually shift your whole neural chemistry, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
So do you so before you go to bed at night, do you think about what you're grateful for?
I do. Yes.
Okay, and that wasn't always the case for you.
No, no,
Okay.
never. Yeah.
And because you do that, you're seeing a shift in energy for yourself.
Yeah, because I was listening to a talk just before I came on where they were saying that we have a natural negativity bias. Um, and apparently it has to do with survival. That was our kind of survival mode. Um, and and so now the choice of the fact that you can choose, where you're going to put your attention, is, I mean, I'm almost thinking like I should be doing it more now as I'm talking to you, like, just
Okay.
more, but definitely, counting your blessings makes you. It's in a song by Adele, count your blessings to find what you live for. So it's getting present to what is it that I actually care about in this life, right?
Yeah. We have a shirt in our store, and it says gratitude is my default setting. And it was one of our volunteers said it one day. When I was moderating the room, and I'm like, that's a really cool saying, and I think I want to put that in a T-shirt.
Nice.
I For me, one of the things that happened to me early in the game of practicing gratitude was the need to not complain as much.
Mm,
And one day I became aware, and I said, you know what, I complain a lot, and
mm,
I made a conscious decision not to do that. Have you
mm.
had anything like that happen for you?
I mean, I think I was already somebody that was embracing, having done all the landmark stuff. I had people say to me, "Oh, you've been through a lot, but you never complain." I mean, I'm personally of the belief that it is good to get things off our chest with, with somebody that we can, that, if we need to vent, it's good to do that, but you shouldn't stay in that place, right? Like you shouldn't carry it around with you all the time. So it's healthy to be able to be authentic, right? And to, just get things off our chest if we need to, but we mustn't, like, dwell in that space all the time of uh being a victim, or just get, like you say, complaining about everything, because have you ever been around someone that does that? It's quite frustrating to be around as well.
It can be. It can be. It says people are meaning making machines, right?
Yeah.
And we can give meaning to anything, and you could have an event and with 10 people in it, and all 10 people come up with different meanings, right? And that is a very hard thing to not do when you have all this other programming. So gratitude kind of opens you up, and you said it's a heart opener. I like that statement, but it opens you up to different possibilities. It opens you up to just seeing life in a different way.
Yeah, I mean, just the simple things, like I'm glad, I'm grateful to be grateful. So I'm grateful that not a single day goes by now where it isn't, a default setting, a part of, even if it's just a simple thing, life can be hard, right? It's not always, like we have egos, we compare ourselves to other people, we have all this stuff, right? Um, And but just getting present is simple. Some days it might just be that you're grateful for nature. It might just be something very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, or some days something nice happens. A friend gets in touch out of the blue, and now to be able to genuinely be present to, oh, I'm really grateful for that, rather than just take it all for granted. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
sometimes the hardships prepare us for the good moments, right? It's the sweet and sour of life. If
Yeah.
we hadn't
Well,
had the challenges, we couldn't, and not that anybody wants to have difficulties, but inevitably it seems to be built into the system in a way.
well, it's almost like we've been taught that we shouldn't have any challenges, and so when challenges show up, we think that they're bad,
Mm.
but maybe they're not, because I have a lot of challenges, and I don't necessarily want to have to deal with them. But if I had a different mindset, maybe I wouldn't think of them the way I think of them sometimes. So
I think
it's that
sometimes
thinking and that meaning, right?
sorry, repeat that.
I said it's that thinking and the meaning that we give things when they
Yes.
happen.
Yes.
Because we do grow when we do have a challenge. A challenge is the only thing that really causes us to grow. I mean, if everything is okay, we don't need to change.
Well, I mean, it's the attachment. I think a lot of. I mean, I've been quite interested in studying Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
So in Buddhism, they say that you're born, complete, but it gets covered up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but the mind gets attached. It's like, in life there is suffering, and then the choice is, how are we going to handle that, right? How attached are we going to get to the inevitable things we're all going to have to deal with? There's going to be loss at some point, right?
Right, right,
Um,
right, right.
there's nobody. I don't think anybody escapes from having to deal with some kind of pain at some point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, maybe the culture does, feed us these uh, impossible. I mean, I was listening to this guy was saying that he was married, he had three beautiful children, his wife had a good career, he had a good career. But even though the culture tells you that that is the dream, that if you have that, everything's perfect. He said he didn't have community, and something was
Mm-hmm.
really missing for him. So
Mm-hmm.
I really do feel that in modern day life, just the way it's structured, a lot of people are quite isolated, and we're all in our. I mean, I'm sure there's millions of different stories on the planet, so I can't generalize too much, right?
Right.
Um, and again, I'm probably going off on a tangent here. So,
No, that's fine.
yeah,
Keep
yeah.
going. Keep going. You're doing great.
I mean, I think there is a loneliness epidemic. I mean, you read about that because basically we're all addicted to our phones these days.
Mm-hmm.
We're all in our homes addicted to our phones. I think the pandemic shifted the culture, you know, and since then, apparently people don't even go to the cinema much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's true, but the things that people, I mean, even back in, like, before we had mobile phones, you would go out and meet people and you would do things, and now, like, everything is, you can just order stuff on Amazon, you can get your food delivered. You know what I mean?
Yeah, convenience.
Mm.
Convenience, but the human aspect of it, that community, which you talked about in the beginning, that's missing there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now we have digital campfires, and I don't think that's the perfect solution, but at least it's something,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Digital. I've not heard of that. Digital campfires. What is that?
That's kind of like what we do in the gratitude room. It's like everybody gets together and we share in a circle, and it's a heartwarming experience. And before, people would have actually got together and stood around the campfire, right?
Mm-hmm. I've not heard it referred to that way, and I like that. And I'm going to write. I'm writing that down because that is
Well,
something
listen,
that we
I
can
can't
probably.
take. I think I got it from ChatGPT. I'm not taking full credit.
Well, it doesn't. Well, wherever it came from, but
Yeah.
people getting around together. That's also another aspect of the community that's created, because now you're having this personal moment. So even though you might be isolated to some degree, the moment of time that you are in that conversation, you feel like you're a part of something bigger.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think
But
that's
that's
why people return again and again and again and again, is because it's giving them something, it's feeding, it's nourishing them on some level.
mm-hmm.
And there's no real, a lot of days, these days people are either trying to sell you something, or, it's all about survival. Yeah. And then when do we need these moments that aren't about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a question for you, and it just slipped my mind. But you
Sorry.
were talking. Well, no, you were talking about when you come out of the community and you go back into your world. It's a different experience. But I don't think it was that. It was more. Geez, I don't remember. But what I'm feeling and getting from our talk right now is that this community is a really important thing, and that when you embrace it, it brings things into your life that weren't there before. And I'm also hearing that over the last 5 years, we've shifted, where we're more on our phones. We're doing a lot more Zoom calls. I think Zoom has exploded. I don't know how many millions of people they sign up every month now. But so we're communicating in a different way, and that's different. And I also think there's this need to come back together in a physical form, which is a little bit more difficult because obviously, we are here in this conversation. I'm in Barbados and you are in the UK, and we're able to have this interview,
And then I think it's been
and
a
that's
lifesaver.
easy, huh?
Sorry, Garth. Yeah, let you finish. Sorry.
No, I'm saying, and it's easy to do that because we've got the technology, and it's not as easy to meet up in person in the other way. You were going to
I
say
think
something
it's
though.
a lifesaver for the people that, a lot of people, for whatever reason, they may be dealing with chronic illness, they may be dealing with blindness, disability, and they can't necessarily get out. And so therefore, this is, the next best thing, right?
Yes, it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
because we do have some moderators that are blind, and we have some that are disabled, and
Yeah.
it's a way for them to connect. And I can tell you that I personally seen a beam of light because now they have something to look forward to. We call them actually handy able.
Handy able. There we go. That's
Yeah,
better. Yeah.
yeah, we got handy able. So there's this segment of community that can thrive in our environment.
And the elderly as well. Sometimes they can't travel. Finances can be a restriction for a lot of people. So this brings, connection to people's lives that they can't necessarily afford to go on a fancy retreat, or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you suggest if you were going to tell someone about the experience of being in the daily gratitude movement? What would you
I think
say?
people either feel it straight away. There are people that come in and immediately, they're a part of it, and then they just keep coming back and they feel welcome. And
Mm-hmm.
there's several people I can think of straight off the bat like that. And there are people that join, and then pretty fast they become moderators because it just resonates with them. It's exactly the thing that they were looking for at that moment. They were,
Mm-hmm.
the fruit was, it was low hanging fruit or whatever. They were just ready to be picked, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then there are other people that they're just not looking for that heart centered. There are people that will come through, and that'll be it.
Mm. Okay. I like
Yeah.
that. Um, so what is something that you would want to share with the listeners that you would want them to know if you were going to have something to share and you had to think about it? Doesn't have to be profound, but it's just something you would just want to share. You see, you know what? I want you to know this. Do you have anything like that?
Oh, just that you matter. I believe we're all connected,
Mm-hmm.
and we're one humanity. I know it sounds kind of Bob Marley or whatever, but I guess I'm a bit of an idealist. When it
Okay.
comes to, yeah, sort of John Lennon, kind of a better world. And I think there are change makers out there like yourself, that have a vision, for what's possible for humanity. A better world is possible.
Okay. Yeah, I believe that too, and I think that with AI technology and Zoom and Clubhouse, these types of technologies, they're just bringing more and more people together, and it's shifting the way we do things. Uh,
And even more so in the face of AI, the need for human connection maybe is even greater now, because
hmm
you go to the supermarket, you check out your own groceries, you don't have a human interaction there. You order your stuff, it gets delivered, it gets put in a box outside your home. That human interaction, even small ones that we used to have, is are kind of disappearing in some ways. I mean,
hmm
sometimes you might open the door, but most of the time they're stressed out, and like AI is just going to grow and grow and grow now. So
hmm
we'll never lose the need for human connection. I mean, I'm listening to this thinking, is this right? But I believe that's so. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to thank you for your time. It's just like it's really interesting. I would say the one thing I got from this conversation is the community that we create. That's created within DGM. I never really thought of it that way. So you gave me some insight into that, and it's good to have your perspective on the world and how technology is impacting us all.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the next 5 years go. It was a pleasure speaking with you, Garth.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, and you have been listening to Stories of Gratitude, and look forward to seeing you in our next episode. So thank you so much. Take
Thank
care,
you, Garth.
everybody.
Thank you.